Good morning, everybody! We have great news because Yuji Horii cannot keep his mouth shut. Just as whenever he was only supposed to talk about the Dragon Quest III remake, he went ahead and leaked Dragon Quest 1 and 2 also being remade years before they were officially announced. Looks like he kind of did the same thing here today with the Zenithian Trilogy. Yeah, they're coming, and it's straight from Yuji Horii himself. And I definitely do want to talk to y'all all about that today, and I do think that's worth the sub as you come and you join a party and you level on up with me. Thank you so much for your sub, your like, and your brand new hype. It does help me out a ton. So I was thinking that there was just going to be one video today. You know, my beginner's guide on Trails in the Sky coming out tomorrow. But no! Yuji Horii had to go and open up his big mouth, and we're going to get to exactly what he said right after a word from today's sponsor. If you love classic dungeon crawlers, then Classic Heroes 3 Remastered is one for you. And it is the best in the series as well. Releasing on September 18th for the PS5, Switch, and PC, this remaster brings the once Japan-only PSP title over to the West for the very first time, fully upgraded and streamlined. Here you can choose from 3 different magical academies, each with unique quests, difficulties, and starting zones, along with tons of different job classes, races, voices, and character designs to make your party your own. All the dungeons are some of like the most unique and rewarding, and this here isn't baby mode either. This is old school challenge that will really test your strategy. With deep party customization, lightning fast combat, and an awesome bond system that lets your characters unlock powerful skills throughout their relationships, this here is the culmination of the cult classic series. So, whether you're a dungeon crawling veteran or just getting into the genre, this here is the perfect place to start. Classic Heroes 3 Remastered is out on September 18th for the PS5, Switch, and PC, so be sure to wishlist it. And now, let's get on back to today's video. Thank you so much for that great game, by the way. So, this comes from a Japanese interview, and through the power of, Google Translate, as well as some people who know Japanese fluently over on Twitter, we know exactly what he's talking about, and this is like an hour-long interview, but I've only taken out the relative pieces of about 1 minute. So let's go over and see exactly what Yuji Horii and the interviewer have to say. He says that unlike manga, games change all the time, and he won't be able to play those games. That's why he is remaking it. It was back on the Famicom, but I don't even have a Famicom. Is that so? Yeah, then it kind of skips. And he says, after hearing that, I guess I'm going to have to do it. Let's see. It's 7, but not 4, 5, and 6. Well, there was a lot of things going on, but it just so happened again. Yeah, there's a lot of things going on, but this one was done first. That's it. This is the shocking information that I heard today. I listened to it briefly, and then they all just kind of start laughing. She's like, what? What's going on? Why 7 and not 4, 5, and 6? Well, apparently it came first, like it was born first. So what that actually means, according to some really good translators who know Japanese, it says, I looked into it further. It seems that the literal translation of what Yuji Horii said was multiple things are moving. It just so happens that 7 was finished first in response to why 4, 5, and 6 were remade first. So I suppose that does pretty much directly imply it. I'm surprised it's not being reported more. Well, now it is being reported more because I got a hold of it. Oh my gosh, y'all, this just happened like overnight. So basically the interviewers are saying like, why 7? Why are you skipping 4, 5, and 6? He says that all of them are being remade. It just so happened that 7 was done first, which is kind of odd. Well, I guess there's different teams making it, and that would make sense, because Hexadrive is remaking Dragon Quest VII, and they're also remaking Dragon Quest XII. So maybe 12 was kind of put on the back burner after the deaths of Akira Toriyama, and they're kind of like going back and retooling that since they did say it's going to be so adult. And maybe they're like, oh, well, we've seen the sales of Final Fantasy whenever we wanted that to be adult, and So maybe they're going back to that, and they were like, you know what? let's put that back on the drawing board. Let's go back and deal with 7, and then they're working on 7, but then the HD 2D teams were too busy, working on 3, 1, and 2, so it just so happened that Hexadrive finished 7 first, and then the Zenithian Trilogy will come out next. That begs the question, which Zenithian Trilogy game will come out next? Because yeah, they're releasing all the games, but they're releasing them in a really wonky order, you know what I mean? Like they released 3 and then 1 and 2, which just so happens to be the chronological order of the Erdrick Trilogy, which tells me that, they're going to be releasing the Zenithian Trilogy also in chronological order, which happens to officially be 6, then 4, then 5. So more than likely, that is going to be their release order. Now, I've got to say, whereas the Erdrick Trilogy, it kind of makes a lot more sense playing it in that chronological order simply because it's like a more of a timeline sort of thing and the stories are more directly connected. The Zenithian Trilogy is much more loosely connected. The only reason why we really know about that timeline is simply because of some little tiny references here and there, and then looking at the Zenithian Castle in different states of disrepair or destruction, and you can see that it is most fully complete in Dragon Quest VI, and then it's kind of, maybe sort of, in 4, and then by Dragon Quest V comes around, Zenithian Castle is below a lake, and the actual, tower up to it is just completely done and gone, and pretty much, like, almost nothing is there any longer, so that's why. And honestly, I'm okay with this, as long as we get Dragon Quest. I don't really care what the order is, as long as we get Dragon Quest. I do think it's kind of surprising that Yuji Horii doesn't own a Famicom, of all things, but he was directly saying, that in regards to Dragon Quest IV, even though it has been released or remade on the Nintendo DS, which begs another question. What versions of these games are we going to be getting? Are we going to be getting the SNES and the Nintendo versions of the game? Are we going to be getting the PlayStation 2 version of 5? Are we going to be getting the PlayStation 1 version of 4? Are we going to be getting the DS versions of these games? We don't know. Dragon Quest 6, 4, and 5 all do play very differently, though. And 6 is much more related to 7 insofar as a ton of job classes are there. It's really a grindy, job class heavy game as you traverse the real world and the dream world, and then you figure out who you are, what your background is, all that kind of stuff. So it would kind of make sense to do 6 afterwards, although it's so similar to 7, it might be a little bit too much. 4 is much more of a break from the other games. It really did its own thing with the chapter system and the multiple protagonists. You have to go through 5 different chapters, and you play as a soldier, then like a tomboy princess, then a merchant, then some sisters bent on revenge before they all come together in the last chapter. And then Dragon Quest V is more of like a timeline game, I suppose, as you watch your hero grow up from a small boy to a teenager, get married, have kids, become an adult as he searches for his family and the legendary hero and all that. So there's a lot of things going on here, a lot of really cool news. We just don't know which is coming first, but we know that they are coming, and like, I am just dying. I am absolutely dying at this news, y'all. This is amazing to me. But now I want to hear from y'all. What do you feel about this? Are you as excited about this as I am? Which one do you think that they're going to make first? Is it going to be the chronological order of 6, 4, 5? Is it going to come in a release order of 4, 5, 6? I don't know. But what do y'all think? Let me know in the comments. And as always, have a good day.